Okay, let's talk parallel and perpendicular lines. So parallel lines are two lines that have the same slope but different y-intercepts. First, I want to say if it had the same y-intercepts, it'd be the exact same line, okay? They are parallel if they have the same slope and different y-intercepts. So they're going to look kind of like that. May not always be in that like direction, but basically they're separated, but they never cross, okay? Most important part of this is that they have the same slope, okay? Perpendicular lines are two lines that have opposite signs. Their slopes have opposite signs and are reciprocals of one another. So, opposite signs, obviously, one's negative, one's positive. But reciprocal means flip over. So let me do a quick example. Let's say the first slope, M1, is negative 2/5. Okay? Then your perpendicular, that stands for perpendicular, slope M2 is going to be, change the sign. So this goes from negative to positive and flip it over. 2/5 would be 5/2. Okay? Does that make sense? So if you see a slope that's negative 2/5 and another slope that's 5/2, those two lines are perpendicular. Let me do one other quick example. Let's say that slope, that first one is 3. Find the perpendicular one. Okay, so the second slope would be for perpendicular, flip it or change the sign so we know it's going to be negative, but then flip it over. Well, this is a whole number, so 3 has to be written as 3/1 so that you can flip it over to make it 1/3. Okay, so 3 and negative 1/3 would be perpendicular slopes, whereas the same slope would be both of them being 3, if that makes sense. All right, so you've got two examples here. Determine if the lines go through the following points. Determine if the lines that go through the following points are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so first you've got to know what the slopes are. Okay, so we've got line 1 and line 2. We're going to use the slope formula on both of these, determine the slopes, and then we can compare them and determine whether this is parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Obviously, we need to label these points. So this is going to be x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, y2 is 7 minus y1 is 12 over x2 is negative 2 minus x1 is negative 4. So putting that in parentheses. So 7 minus 12 is negative 5. And obviously this is negative 2 plus 4. So negative 2 plus 4 is 2. So we've got negative 5/2 as our first slope. Let's do the exact same thing with obviously the slope formula here, but with this one. So for line 2. So label x1, y1, x2, y2. And using that same formula, y2 is 5 minus y1 is 0 over x2 is 4 minus x1 is 2. So this is 5 over 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay, so we've got the first one is negative 5/2. The second one is 5/2. Are they identical? Sign, numbers, everything? No. Okay, if they were either both negative 5/2 or either both 5/2, we could say they're the same slope, but this one does not work out that way. So they are not parallel. Let's check perpendicular. So perpendicular has two conditions. They have to have opposite signs. Well, this one clearly does. One is negative, one's positive. But are they reciprocals of each other? No, because negative 5/2 flipped over is 2/5. And I did not remember that this ends up working out that way. I guess it just muscle memory maybe. But these are not obviously reciprocals. And so then they are not perpendicular. So what does that mean? They're not parallel perpendicular, so this one would be neither.